Only Tom Brady could have possibly counted all the way up.
He's Tom Brady.
All the way up to 12. A podcast that isn't about to let something as silly as the so-called results on the field change anything about what we think we know about the various people involved, because this is sports. My name is Bob, sitting across the way from my good friend and co-host. That's Abe. How you doing tonight, Abe?
Doing well, Bob.
Yeah, here we are. Lori's here too. How you doing tonight, Lori?
Good.
Lori's good. Tonight is Tuesday, January 21st, 2025. It all happened yesterday, Abe. It was a day of many things. Did you enjoy a pleasant long weekend?
Yeah, it was a holiday weekend. Monday was MLK Day. Typically on these holidays, I try to go see a movie, but because it was a little cold, I said fuck it, and so I just stayed in. So I did nothing yesterday.
Nice.
It's a little cold here too. It was a overnight low of like 9 degrees. Same thing happening tonight. Very unpleasant, but we escaped. There's this band in the center of the country. There's a winter storm in the northeast and a winter storm in the southeast. Florida's getting snow.
Yeah.
The northeast is getting, and we just have cold, clear air up here.
Spared for now. I'm sure you'll get something in February.
Hey, but it's now time for you to live bet the games. Not a lot going on tonight on a Tuesday, but this is Cast Iron Balls, and therefore you must live bet the games. A couple of NBA games. That's
tennis?
a bad team against a good team. I don't want to do that one.
Is there any NHL action?
There is.
Yeah.
Here's some NHL action. We've got the Sabres. That's the Buffalo Sabres against the Canucks of. Actually, you know what? No, let's do Caps Oilers. A few years ago, I got into the Washington Capitals a little bit, and they went on that run, and Ovechkin won his Stanley Cup, and at the end, he's group picture, and he gets everybody around him, and they do the big happy group picture thing on the ice. It was very exciting. Maybe the last time that I followed any significant hockey action. But tonight, we've got the Washington Capitals traveling to the Great White North and playing the Edmonton Oilers. Appears to be a matchup of similar teams. We got 67 points for the Caps and 61 points for the Oilers. That's 31-10-5 and 29-14-3. I've not watched any hockey yet this season.
Yeah, I haven't watched any
should
this
CIB
year.
adopt a hockey team and just start following it?
Yes.
The problem is hockey's one of those that you have to watch the whole time, and they have lots of games. So it's like basketball in that way.
Yeah, but
they almost have the same schedule.
It's much more fun for me anyway. I prefer hockey to a good hockey
Obviously,
game
it's
to
way
a good.
more fun, but it's a larger commitment than I
true.
want.
Was it? Wasn't Edmonton in the Stanley Cup just this past year? It was them and the Panthers,
they lost.
I think, and they lost to Florida.
Yeah.
But they seem to have a pretty good team. I forget the guy's name, like something David or Connor.
I think I saw some stat where like Florida has many number of Stanley Cups in the last X number of years, and Canada has 0.
Yeah.
It was a very embarrassing number of Stanley Cups for the state of Florida. And
the embarrassing thing back in the Toronto days, the Maple Leafs, people love that team in Toronto. Very big on the hockey. And they never win. I think they lost one in the 1960s. And I think they still have not won. I haven't kept up with them. But you're right. There are a lot of teams up there. Even I think the Winnipeg Jets, they used to be down here, the Thrashers. They moved them up there because nobody follows hockey down here in Atlanta. That was a bad idea.
I went to a Thrashers game once. It was fun.
Yeah. But it worked for Nashville, which is a similar crowd. And I don't understand why the
I'll bet you that
team
Atlanta
works.
could support a hockey team now.
Yeah, probably, yeah.
They couldn't.
They couldn't in the
be-
late 90s, early 2000s. They
Right.
did okay. It wasn't a
but not
runaway
enough.
success.
Yeah. But anyways, I will say I don't even know what the score is. I'm going to assume Edmonton's going to win this.
Puck drop, as they say, Abe, doesn't take place for another 3 minutes or so.
Okay. Well, there you go. I'm going to go Edmonton.
Taking the home team. You are on fire, it must be said. We have to stop this. And the way that we're going to stop this is by getting you to call like college basketball games and NHL games of which you know nothing.
Yeah. So it's going to be like cricket or some random sport that I don't know
Yeah, I was
nothing
going to suggest cricket.
All right, let's, as we said in our pre-show meeting that we have, we got to get through this shit quick because it's already 9 o'clock and lots to talk about over on the news side. Last night was the national title game. The first ever 12-team playoff culminated in a game between the Ohio State Buckeyes and the Notre Dame Fighting Irish, with Ohio State, of course, coming out on top by a score of 34-23. A game that was, at times, really exciting, and then for a long stretch in the middle, quite dreadful and boring to watch, as the Ohio State offense just marched up and down the field at will, and Notre Dame couldn't do anything after that opening drive. But credit to Notre Dame for making it a game. In the end, Abe, first impressions or closing thoughts or whatever, however you want to attack last night's game.
I thought the game overall, I mean, the ending was entertaining when Notre Dame made it the game before they eventually lost. But like that opening drive, 10 minutes or almost 10 minutes, 15 plays or 18 plays.
18 plays, 9
Yeah.
minutes, 45 seconds, and
Right.
a touchdown.
That was a remarkable start to the game because going into the game.
And a total fucking slog. Right? I mean,
Yes. Yeah.
in terms of the product on the field, just 2 yards here, 3 yards there, a couple of two fourth down conversions.
Right. They were aggressive from the get-go.
This is why this segment takes too long, because you describe the whole game.
I'm not describing the whole
Let
game.
Abe say his opinion.
Go ahead. Sorry, Abe.
Oh, no. So what I'm saying, it opened, initially there was concern. I picked Notre Dame to at least cover. I didn't think they were going to win because it was a large spread. But when they scored first and they were being aggressive with their let's go for it, let's fuck these field goals, I was like, okay, at least Notre Dame showed up to play. They're not as good as Ohio State, but they're going to make a game of it. And then before you knew it, Ohio State, I forget how many points. It was like 21 points unanswered or 31 points unanswered.
It was 31 points unanswered. This game was 7-0 Notre Dame, and then it was 31-7.
Right. So at that point,
24-point lead.
At that point, you're thinking, holy shit, this could be like that TCU game. Like it could just 38, 45, 52. Before you know it, it could be like in the 50s, right? So there was a concern that this game would get out of hand, and thankfully it did not. Slowly, Notre Dame made a game of it. It looked like they were within 8 points, and I think they had them like on a second or third down situation, and there was like a 50-plus yard pass that ended the game basically. But they were close to getting the ball back with a couple of minutes left to make it even more interesting. But overall, it was entertaining. Ohio State was the better team. They won. Dominant run. I mean, I don't know if you were told, okay, you're going to win the national title, but you have to face like public humiliation and embarrassment by losing to your rival at home in late November. Most people would take that trade, right? Right? You would take that trade, but it's just like having to go through the Michigan embarrassment and then just.
Do you really want to live with Tyler and all of the tech people that you know, lording it over you for all of time hereafter?
Yeah.
That in only the second 2-loss national title season ever, right? This is LSU did it back in the day. And I think this is the only other 2-loss national title that has ever been awarded. And one of those losses is to your hated in-state or, in their case, cross-border rival. I don't know. I don't know if you take that.
Right. But I mean, you get a title out of it and haven't won in 10, 11 years, right? So, the trade-off would be worth it. But you're right. Now, Michigan can always say, we beat you. And sometimes these rivalries, they'll say, if we win the national title, almost jokingly, if we win the national title but lose to our hated rival, it's almost like a defeat,
There will be so many bar fights over this exact exchange, which is a guy in an Ohio State T-shirt or national title hat will be sidling up to the bar, and some Michigan asshole will be like, yeah, that's a bit of an asterisk there, considering what happened in the game, and it's like 2 broken noses and bruises and blood later.
Especially in a year that Michigan's not good.
Right.
That's what makes it. Yeah.
it's important to note that it's not that they lost to their rival and their rival almost won and ruined their rival's season. It was meaningless except for beating them. And they won.
Yeah. And on top of that, the year before, Michigan won a clean national title, right? Like they did it. So basically, it's like to everybody else, this is a clean national title for Ohio State. But between those two programs, Michigan's like, not a clean national title.
Clean, but I know that if it weren't for the 12-team playoff, they wouldn't have been in it.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
So I don't care.
Right.
Congrats to them. They won. They were very good. Good game. Whatever.
Right.
But I can't be that impressed because they lost twice.
Right. I would like to. I saw multiple people, not just Ohio State people, but certainly Ohio State people, talking about how this is maybe the greatest run that any school ever went on to win a national title. It's like it was a nice 4 games that you won in order to get it done, and I know And this is where they start doing revisionist history, and it's like, well, Tennessee, we beat Tennessee.
Right.
Okay. But Tennessee, I knew Tennessee wasn't any good halfway through the season, right? And it's if you just look at what Tennessee did this year, those first 5 or 6 games against nobodies, I knew that was fake juice. I called it fake juice when it happened, and then Georgia fucking handled them because it was a fake juice program this year. And so, get out of here with the Tennessee win. And then, did they beat Texas? Yes, absolutely. Or before that,
undefeated Oregon.
They beat undefeated Oregon. Yes, absolutely. But how good was Oregon this year? It's not entirely clear how good Oregon was this year. They won a very tight game against Ohio State at the relative beginning of the year. Yes, in October. But beside that, didn't really play anybody all season long. And then got into a crazy shootout with a thoroughly mediocre Penn State team in the conference championship game, and then lost their only playoff game. Got boat raced out of their only playoff game, in fact. And then to beat Texas, yes. But they beat Texas, and I know it looks like 2 touchdowns on the scoreboard, and it's like, we beat Texas. But that was a game that Texas was about to tie the game on in the final moments of that game also. And it was a reflection of the same problems that they had. And so was this game against Notre Dame, by the way. So you go 5 straight possessions. You score 4 touchdowns and a field goal to open your offensive work in this game. And then it sort of dies at that point, right? You couldn't do much of anything after that point. And that's obviously you have a very strong offense. If you can do, you look at the drive breakdown, it's 75 yards, 10 plays, 7 points. And it just repeats that 4 times in a row, basically.
Yeah.
At the same time that your defense is going 3 and out with 3 yards gained, minus 4 yards gained, and it's all happening in 2 minutes, right? So it's your offense just keeps getting the ball and keeps scoring, good for you. But also, eventually they got bogged down, and they looked like the same butt-clenching team that they looked like against Texas for the most part of that game, and that they looked like against Michigan for the entirety of that game, where they don't have the stones to really go for it, despite the fact that they have the best receiving core in college football, probably the best wide receiver in all of college football in the form of that number 4, Jeremiah Smith.
Yeah.
Who's only a freshman, and a perfectly serviceable quarterback who can make the long throws.
With a lady face.
With the lady face. So I joked at the top about not letting the results on the field change how I feel about these people, but it really doesn't. This doesn't fundamentally change the way I think about Ryan Day. He turned a blowout into a completely winnable game for Notre Dame because they did not throw the ball downfield the entire game until that 3rd and 11 with Jeremiah Smith, and they only did that after on first down. At the 25 or whatever it was, Notre Dame rushes 9 players, right? They put 9 in the box, and they blitz with just about everybody except man-to-man coverage on the 2 wideouts. They do it again on 2nd down. and they line up to do it again on third down, how can you not call for the best player on the field, who's Jeremiah Smith, to just run as far and as fast as you can and let Will Howard throw the ball up there and see if Jeremiah Smith can run under it? And this, to me, it's like it wasn't an awesome throw. It wasn't exactly in stride. He had to kind of float under that ball in order to make it, even though he'd beaten his cornerback by 3 or 4 steps. Like, it was a fine play, and he was under pressure, and he got the job done, obviously. But, like, why you were that conservative the last quarter of that game, and especially on that last drive, where you find yourself in 3rd and 11 because you were effectively kneeling the ball in your own end zone, content to, in Abe fashion, run and punt, only up 1 possession, right?
That's what I was telling my TV, like, just run and punt it.
Yeah, and that's what they were doing. They were basically taking a knee until that 3rd and 11 when Chip Kelly was finally like, yeah, fuck it. Like, if they're going to bring 9, then I guess we just throw the ball as far as we can. And, like, I don't see that as some sort of, like, I saw it talked about as like some courageous move, or like to have the balls to make that sort of a call in that moment. It's like, what are you talking about?
Right.
Go win a fucking football game. You have the best players. Everybody knows you have the best players, and you have more depth, and you have the best wide receiver in college football. Go make a play. And, like, to their credit, yes, they made the play that fucking mattered. And still, even after that happens, it's basically take a knee, and then kick a field goal, and then turn the ball back over to the other team.
You know, this was the first year of this expanded format that Ohio State won, and they won the last time they expanded it to 4. I think going forward, as far as this issue about, like, look who we beat, every team going forward will be able to make a similar argument. The eventual national champion will have to go through this gauntlet, right? So, like, everybody can point to a Tennessee or an Alabama or, you know, whomever you can beat.
This is very much the new normal.
Yeah. So basically, like, it's a novelty now. You can, you know, and they're probably just doing this to stave off the Michigan shitting on them. Maybe that's why they're saying all this. But, like, for 1 year, you can make this argument. But, like, going forward, every national champion will make the same argument. You know, so it's like, what's the point?
Right. One more thing on this game. You said that when, and I actually got a back-to-back text from you and Naveed at the same moment about how that was the most deserving shank. Like of all of the shanks, that was a highly deserved shank because
what the
Notre
fuck was
Dame.
that? I mean, like,
Notre Dame is down 31-15. There are 9.5 minutes to go in this game, and it is 4th and goal from, like, the 9, I think, or maybe it's 4th and
12.
Yeah, or maybe it was 4th and 9 from the 11 or something like that. So they could have gotten one more first down, but they were basically 4th and goal to go with a couple. They could have maybe had a first down at the 2 or something. And Marcus Freeman, who had been reliably aggressive throughout this game, including already earlier going for and converting a 2-point conversion when they were down 24 points, right? So when you're down 24, you need 3 of them, basically. Right. And at that point, if you don't get it, you're still down 18, and it's like, okay, now we're still down 3 scores. Anyway, everybody was convinced that this was a disaster of a decision, and then he fucking shanks it. We don't even get the satisfaction of the doink because the bar there in Megatron's butthole is like extra hollow or light or something. What was that? Wah, 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 wah.
I will find my favorite tweet
instead of the doink. I'm on the other side of this. I'm on Marcus Freeman's side. I think I also kicked that field goal there with 9.5 minutes to go.
Take the pressure off. Because
it becomes I know it's crazy, but it feels like a more winnable game to me. I know you're still down by 2 touchdowns, but now you still need the ball 2 more times, right? It doesn't change the math in terms of how many possessions you need to tie and or win this game. But it puts you in a position to win this game with 2 more possessions. And 13 points feels much closer than 16 points in the game of football. And I know that the math nerds, that I'm completely wrong in terms of the math nerds here, and I recognize that. But I think that there's more to that situation in terms of the psychology of the team than what the math nerds have to say. And I think being down 13 makes that game feel more winnable than 31-15 does if you don't convert, which they didn't in either case, obviously. So the point is sort of moot, I suppose.
Right. I mean, they were 2 possessions down, and a field goal would not have changed that. Like, the problem that I had with it is that throughout the whole game, they were playing aggressive. Even in the first drive, even when it was 0-0, fourth down situations, they just kept on saying, fuck it, let's go. And it felt like they blinked.
Except there are times in a football game where you want to take points no matter what the math says. And after a bad turnover, which is the only reason that they're in this position anyway is because of a turnover. Somebody fumbled somewhere, and they recovered it. And after a turnover like that, to come away with nothing is super fucking disheartening. And I know that they end up coming away with nothing anyway.
Because they rushed it. I don't understand what the rush was.
But yeah, Mitch Jeter could not come through for the Irish in this case.
This tweet by a guy who I don't know who he is says, I love the decision by Notre Dame. Would you rather try to win a national championship or see what sound the upright makes? Choice seems pretty clear if you like fun.
Yeah. I don't know. I understand why people would be frustrated about that. I liked the call at the time, and in retrospect, it ends up working out because if they stop them on 3rd and 11, they're getting the ball back with plenty of time to go score, right? So, granted, they didn't stop them on 3rd and 11. They hit the 56-yard play to Jeremiah Smith, and the rest is history. Right. But in that moment, I felt like it was the right move to just put points on the board. And unfortunately, it didn't work out.
If that field goal went in, like Notre Dame would have covered. Like I wonder if there were any degenerates out there because it was like 8.5, and it would have been an 8-point difference.
Right.
But that's not what
and also there's still 9 minutes to go. It's another
I know, but
story.
this is not a quick strike offense, right? So that's it. So basically, you have time is not on your side.
But if you're gonna, it hasn't been. But if you're gonna win this game, you're going to rely on the quick strike thing that you pull out of your ass whenever you can. Right. And they did that with Greathouse. Greathouse saved them twice in these playoffs with big quick strike moments, right? Including a big touchdown to make it a 1-possession game last night. So, like, you have to have everything going. You need, pardon the expression, the luck of the Irish in order to make this happen, and they simply didn't have it last night. They needed to play an A-plus game, and they started playing an A-plus game, and they kind of found some A-plus work there in the fourth quarter. But for the most part, way too many empty possessions there in the middle of this game where they ran. I think in the middle of this game, they ran fewer plays. Like there's some crazy number of plays that they ran after that opening drive until they finally got the ball moving again, and it was a fewer plays and yards than they had in the entire first in those first 10 minutes.
Right, a respectable performance by Notre Dame overall. I mean, what was it, that Alabama Notre Dame game like 10 years ago? Not very good. So at least they showed up. A very I haven't looked at this. I don't know if this has happened before, but Monday could have been a great day for adult converts to Catholicism, right? So you had J.D. Vance, the vice president, swearing in, and then Marcus Freeman, convert in his 30s. Both of them, which is an unusual thing to pivot in your 30s to the religion. That would have been a great day, even though it was MLK Day and.
Do you think Marcus Freeman converted to Catholicism because he was having all of those kids and needed some sort of reason for it?
No, it's because he started coaching Notre Dame.
All right. Fun end to the college football season.
Yes.
We will, of course, be talking more college football, I'm sure, as the year goes on and we get into the offseason here. But no recruiting. Cast iron balls will not be your source for what teenagers are planning on doing with themselves in the future. All right, working backwards quickly through the rest of the football action this weekend, we have the Bills defeating the Ravens 27-25 in what was certainly the NFL game of the week.
So fun.
And probably the football game of the week.
A lot of fun.
Objectively speaking. What did you think about that one, Abe?
So, Lamar Jackson, who I've said is very much like Peyton Manning, had 2 turnovers. And they weren't like good turnovers, like overthrown pick and then just like him running around.
The pick was a badly overthrown ball to no one except the Bills' safety.
Right.
And then the fumble that he had not much long thereafter was on a muffed snap thing, like a bad snap from the center that he recovers and should have just tucked, and because there was already a guy on him like right away. By the time he has the ball in his hand, there's one Bills guy that's on him, just tuck the ball and fucking fall down.
Yeah.
What are you doing? Don't try to make anything happen. It's time to go down. And of course he fumbles, and they nearly return it for 6. It's not quite there, but then the Bills do subsequently score a touchdown.
But despite those 2 turnovers, Lamar played pretty well if you exclude those 2 moments. And
right, especially because you saw that those 2 things happened, I think, both in the first quarter,
yeah,
right?
it was early
And
enough to where you can recover.
You basically forgot about it because he was so good for the rest of the game.
And Josh Allen wasn't, and I don't know if they were just playing conservative because of the fuck-ups or what, but he wasn't asked or he didn't do much. And so, like, the game was there for the Ravens to come back.
Game, I know this is a little crazy, and back to the other game a little bit, but the sort of game that they had Josh Allen play makes me think that, like, the shitty game managers that we saw in Will Howard and Riley Leonard, like, maybe that game does translate to the next level, because Will Howard only had to make one throw through the air that entire fucking game. Right. The rest of them were all these little screens and quick slants. If he had a ball besides the one to Jeremiah Smith that traveled more than like fucking 8 yards in the air and more than 5 yards downfield, I would be surprised. Everything was a little fucking dink. It sucked.
Yeah. But, like, I mean, there were a couple of drops by the tight end, Andrews. I mean, like, there was one in the middle of the field, and then the worst one was, like, I mean, that was a 2-point conversion there.
It's not just the drop. See, so he has the drop earlier in the game that was real bad. Yeah. And then he has a fumble earlier in the game.
Yes.
That allows the Bills to basically, like, seal the game, because they come back down and kick a field goal that gives them a lead off of that turnover. Extends the lead, rather, because of that turnover. Essentially forcing Baltimore to have to ultimately go for 2 in order to tie the thing. And then he drops the fucking 2-point conversion that was just right there. Like, there's just no good reason for him to drop that.
I can't imagine what I don't know how strong of a fan base the Ravens are, but, like, he must be getting a lot of shit.
They're pretty crazy people.
Yeah, because I mean,
he's also been like an incredibly reliable player.
I know he was like a very reliable guy. So I don't know what happened, but, like, that was just an awful game by him. And at the end, just to not catch it, I know, like, inclement weather, blah blah blah, slippery ball. But
no matter what happens in overtime, you redeem your horrible game by catching that 2-point conversion.
Right, because
he couldn't fucking do it.
I mean, they're not out of the clear. I mean, there was like almost 2 minutes left, right? So let's say the 2-point succeeds, it's a tie game.
Right, that's true.
Now you
have
Josh Allen. Yeah. All they need is a field goal, right? So, like, it's not. But at least he would have been, his reputation would have been salvaged, and instead, this happens.
Yeah. So it sounds like you're giving Lamar something of an out after all of this.
No out. I mean, by the way, this is 18 years, I think, to the week when Peyton Manning similarly dug a hole early against the Patriots in the AFC title game, but he managed to kind of dig himself out of it, and people were giving him credit. I mean, he's the one that dug the team in the hole, but whatever. I thought that Lamar was on that path. I was like, okay, I've seen this game before. You eat shit early, and then you mount to come back and then maybe win it in overtime or something like that, but that did not happen. Has he made it to the AFC title game yet? Like, it seems like he's lost pretty early.
I don't think they have. I don't know if they have.
Because it seems like everything goes through Kansas City, and it's either like Cincinnati or Buffalo or some other team that faces them. So, you know, he's not out of the hook yet. Even though it's not entirely his fault this time, you still got to make it. You got to go over the hump.
Jumping in here during the edit because, as I'm sure you noticed, we brain farted there. And, of course, the Chiefs defeated the Baltimore Ravens in last year's AFC Championship game 17-10. Not that that substantially changes the point, which, of course, is that Lamar Jackson has not gotten over the hump just yet. All right. Earlier that day, the Commies kind of whipped the Lions 45-31. Jared Goff was not good in this game.
When we planned our trip to Las Vegas, not for championship weekend, Glampionship weekend, but also on Glampionship weekend.
Stop calling it Glampionship weekend.
I don't think I can do that. Never in a million years did I think we would be watching the Washington football team.
It's remarkable.
In one of those games. It's so crazy.
There was some stat that said that since like 2010, every team in the NFC except for the Cowboys have not made it to the conference title game. Like it was basically them and the Commanders, and now they're in. And what's weird is it wasn't
crazy.
that close of a game, and it's weird. This NFC North.
That's because Jared Goff threw for like fucking 50% and 3 picks. It was
Yes,
spectacular
just
how bad he was.
An awful game. But what's weird is the NFC North fielded 3 teams in the playoffs. They had the Packers, who were like the third banana, or whatever. But you had 2 like 14+ win teams in Minnesota and Detroit, and all 3 are not even in the conference title game. It's
And now the
remarkable how they
NFC
collapsed.
Conference Championship is between
The
2
NFC.
NFC East teams, which I would have like.
So crazy.
Probably not the worst division in football because of the existence of the NFC South. But like the Giants were dreadful this year, and the Cowboys weren't any good because of their various injury situation mostly. But
It's remarkable how calm this Jaden Daniels is. Like he's
so great.
He's not rattled. Like he was talking about like how he uses some sort of like headset technology to kind of.
There's an article about it in The Athletic from last year when he was at LSU.
Yeah. So, but do other quarterbacks not utilize this? Like
I saw some clickbaity bullshit about how like Jaden Daniels requires that like 30% of his training has to be done via AI in his rookie contract, and I was like, I am not clicking on this. I refuse.
I'll find it. There's a really good article. It was from LSU, so whatever.
So he was
But
doing it even back
all
then.
about
Yeah.
the technology that they use.
If he's going to talk about ChatGPT the way Russell Wilson talks about
I don't
Gatorade,
think he's going to talk about ChatGPT.
it's going to be really easy for me to hate this guy, and I'm looking forward to finding out more.
He's just doing. It's like VR.
Yeah, basically,
stuff.
yeah. Which I would imagine other. So the thing is, okay, he's using this technology. I'm assuming other quarterbacks are also using it, but the production. I mean, he got a Heisman, and now he's leading a team that was dreadful a year ago. Like, what was their record last year? And now they're in the conference title game, a puncher's chance, a better than a puncher's chance to go to the Super Bowl. I mean, it's not like
Look here now. Let's not just all put this on Jaden Daniels. We've replaced Riverboat Ron with Dan Quinn.
Yeah.
It's a big deal. And
you
Dan
know what
Snyder's
the best thing
gone.
about Jaden Daniels is? He seems like he's genuinely having a good time.
Yeah.
He does seem like he's having fun.
He seems a little thin, but like it seems like it worked for him.
He's so skinny.
Yeah.
But he seems like I'm doing the thing I like doing for a job.
Yeah.
This is great.
Yeah.
And not like, why didn't he catch that?
All right, I missed one. We skipped the other Sunday game by mistake. Rams against the Eagles. Rams.
No.
Yeah.
We're getting to 9:30.
There were a couple
going.
of games where it started without snow, and then like slowly the snow came, and I think that was
like
one of
gross
them.
rain.
Yeah.
The Eagles did not look particularly great in this game. They end up winning 28-22. The Rams scored with like 3 minutes to go to make it a 6-point game, and then they did force a very quick 3-and-out, and then Stafford. Because I predicted it. The thing that came out of my mouth last week was at the end of the game, I trust Matthew Stafford with the ball in his hand to lead the team down in a close game and ultimately get a win. And I had called for the upset. Sadly, Stafford does just that. He marches them down the field, and then on like 3rd and 2, there's a sack at the 20 for like a 9-yard loss, which leads to a 4th and 11. And it was a bad pass. He threw the ball badly out of bounds on 4th and 11, effectively to end the game, which was too bad.
But how about Saquon? Holy shit, this guy.
Yeah, if you take away, I mean, I know you can never do this, but
you can't do that.
Take away the early Jalen Hurts scramble for a touchdown and the other long run that Saquon broke for a touchdown. You take away those 2 long runs, and the Eagles' offense didn't do much of anything else.
No, it was just Jalen Carter and N'Kobe Dean.
Yeah,
There were so
No,
many.
N'Kobe Dean was hurt. No, N'Kobe Dean was hurt. The other one, Nolan Smith.
I kept
and,
on seeing
Jordan
so
Davis.
many Georgia players on the Eagles defense making plays. Like, wait a minute, that's another Georgia. Maybe it's the same like 3 players,
Crazy.
but they kept on making plays. I'm like, holy shit, this team is stacked.
3 is a lot.
Yeah,
Also, the best part of the game will always be when Jalen Carter picked up Matt Stafford like a toddler, just like he did Jaden Daniels 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Just this is what I do. I gently pick up these giant men.
Is this good enough to stop forward progress if I just pick this human being up off the
him
ground and hold him here with one arm? All right. Finally, Chiefs-Texans. The only thing to really discuss out of this game, which was another close game and probably closer than the score indicates. But the roughing calls against the Texans, which everybody was mad about,
Yeah.
I thought Troy Aikman was super over the top in his reaction to these, because these were by the book, by my eye. They looked like fouls. And I know that
the second one was not as much, right?
To deeply concussed and frequently concussed Troy Aikman, that he's kind of mad about the fact that quarterbacks are protected in the way that they are these days, and he would take much more of a beating and not get any calls. Like, I understand it from that perspective, but by the rule book, to me, they more or less look like they got it right. The second one, when it seems like the bulk of the violence happens to the Texans' teammates rather than to Mahomes himself.
Yeah.
There's still forcible contact to Mahomes' head, which forces the head back as he's going into his slide. I think that, yes, he went into a late slide, and they probably don't throw that flag with the amount of contact that there was, but for the fact that the head does jerk back because there's contact to the face mask there.
Another way of looking at it.
That's in the fucking rules. And like, I don't know what you're complaining about, except that when Mahomes like flops himself out of bounds like a dead fish.
That did not help. Yeah.
Which he didn't get the call on that one.
Right. No. But he does that.
But it doesn't help the whole narrative, right?
If you watch the non-calls on quarterbacks that aren't Patrick Mahomes, it's what's interesting.
Yeah. I mean, you can
there
put
is
together
a lot of violence going on. They tend to call it a lot on teams playing the Chiefs.
Yeah, that seems to be like the. I went online during that game, and there's a lot of like, oh, here we go again. The Chiefs are getting all the calls. Mahomes is getting all. It's like they kind of do this in the NBA, where like a superstar treatment, like, you know, they give LeBron all the calls because he's LeBron, and usually that didn't happen in the NFL, but like they're almost making it sound like that's what happened. To the Troy Aikman point, have you noticed these quarterbacks in the booths are very like these quarterbacks are far too coddled? Like, are they doing that just out of resentment? Because like back in the day, they used to get the shit beat out of them, and now things are different. But like Tom Brady had a similar kind of thing where he's like, it's not fair the way the quarterbacks are protected and these defenses are getting penalized unfairly.
Well, and before there was Patrick Mahomes being coddled by the refs, it was Tom Brady being like, what are you talking about here, Tom?
No,
but he makes the same point.
It is I had to do this. This is the job. Yeah. Like, I have it at my job where, like, I had to do shit I don't like doing, and now these new stylists are like, oh, I don't do that. Yeah. And it's like, what? You have to. That's what you do. That's what you do at this part of the job. Right.
I saw a bunch of praise for Brady, speaking of, on like various media sites, and I screenshotted one where Fox News ran an article talking about how Tom Brady is receiving praise for for seeing something that no one else was going to see at the closing moments of this high-pressure playoff game that he was calling. And it was just Tom Brady talking about how they need to call a timeout here because there's 12 defenders on the field. There's 12. And it's like, only Tom Brady could have possibly counted all the way up.
He's Tom Brady.
All the way up to 12 and then said something about it.
It's his favorite number. He can spot 12.
He's somewhere. That's right. He always sees the 12 out there. He's somewhere between like mildly annoying to kind of annoying to an absolute nothing of a broadcaster at this point, a full season into this. Yeah. And like, I sincerely don't know why he would continue this for the next 9 years.
He's not anything.
Surely it would be more fun to just go help run the Raiders and make your money that way.
$375 million.
It is $930.
Yeah. Lots of money. All right, real quick. We've got the commies. The results of these games mean that we have the commies plus 6.5 at the Eagles and the Bills plus 1.5 at the Chiefs.
We're going to watch these games in Vegas.
We will be watching these games in Vegas. We will not be able to reconvene for another preview before then.
Are you going to be Are you going to bet in a sports book?
We have no idea what we're doing.
Like walk up to the window and be like, "Hey, guy, here, I'd like $50 on this team."
Maybe.
Yeah, probably. That'd be fun. I'd like to hold I've never held like a sports betting ticket before. I've only ever done it on the app, which is not nearly as much fun.
We don't have plans.
Commies plus 6.5. They split the first two games, both of which were close games, including the second game. The commies won at home in dramatic and exciting fashion with a last moment touchdown. Probably the signature win of Jaden Daniels' rookie season in all likelihood. I'm surprised that this is a near touchdown situation, given that they've already played them close twice this season. I mean, I know it's at home for the Eagles, so you have to factor that in. But I would have guessed this was more like 3.5 or 4 points than 6.5 or 7. I like the commies here. I know that's
to win
maybe
outright.
silly, but yeah, I think outright I'm going to be leaning toward the commies. I'm not making that pick official yet. I don't know what we're going to do for the pick'em game because there's only 2 games. Am I going to ask people to come up with NBA picks or something?
No, we're just going to not.
Well, we need to because to update that real quickly, our scores now, it's very tight here as we enter the end of the season. We've got Cousin Steve and Abe tied for the lead with 75 points apiece.
Yeah,
and
just these 2.
I'm a mere 5 points behind.
No, just these 2 and then Super Bowl. That's it.
All right, I'm fine with that if everybody else is fine with that.
That works.
No one else cares.
I'm leaning commies, and then I'm also leaning Bills, mostly because the Chiefs have won a bunch of games this year, but just barely. And I think this is the year the Bills finally get it done.
Yeah, I mean, this is as good of an opportunity for the Bills as any. Like, I mean, the Chiefs' defense is pretty good, but, like, the offense is not that good. They're very beatable, but they always find a way. That's the thing about this Kansas City team. They always find some way.
Yeah. Should be fun games, though, and we're excited to watch it with the rabble out there in Vegas. Who knows where we end up or how we end up there.
We're going to airplane there.
And the early game is like a nooner or something, right? Like, isn't it like you're out west?
We might just watch that in the bed.
I think it's like a 3 o'clock.
For us.
3 o'clock in the east.
Yeah, for West Coast. It starts at fucking noon. That sucks.
Sunday night football's in the afternoon out there.
Big noon kickoff.
No wonder it caught on fire.
It sounds like we maybe amble on down to find some coffee and breakfast and then just go back to the room and watch it in bed.
We don't know is the point.
Yeah.
Do whatever the fuck we want.
All right. And then Jimmy Carter, of course, wraps up his inaugural season as the CIB picker, official presidential picker at 11-7 against the spread. Quite a good run for the old peanut farmer. And we will sort out the CIB Pick'em playoff winner after the Super Bowl, I suppose. But yeah, Cousin Steve, get your picks in, just those 2 games. You've been listening to Cast Iron Balls, a podcast about sports with Bob and Abe. Lori's here too. Check us out on Substack, brainiron.substack.com for more from us. The opening and closing themes of the show were composed by Marc Gillig, tetramermusic.com, Tetramer music.com for more from Mark. Anything else in the world of sport catch your eye this weekend, Abe?
A quick update to a story we mentioned a couple of weeks ago. Remember that Wisconsin player, the school would not put him in the transfer portal because he wanted to leave. There was some sort of money issue. Like he took money.
They were holding him hostage.
It wasn't resolved. And
so my understanding is that he signed for money for the upcoming seasons, but no money has yet been paid out. This is another complicating factor. He has not actually pocketed any of the money that he was contracted for because it wasn't due to be paid out yet, is my understanding.
So then that's a pretty weak argument then for the school. But like what he did was that he just simply left the school and enrolled in the school he wants to go to, which is Miami. So like instead of waiting for them to place him in the transfer portal, he just left.
Possession is 9/10 of the law. Why wouldn't Miami be like, well, you can go to school here.
We don't own people.
But it's remarkable how like this whole system is kind of crumbling. Like this is literally the wild, wild west. Like money is just flying around. Commitments are not being honored. The transfer portal, what is the point of? Like if you could just leave. So like what is going on? Like it seems they need to fix this. Because what's the point of having a transfer portal if you can just leave?
That's a mess.
And there's no mechanism for them to do anything about it without you seeming kind of like an asshole. Like, what would the school do? Like some sort of injunction? Stop reading that book?
If he had taken $500,000 and it was like in his checking account and then he spent it and he's like, yeah, but now I got more money waiting for me somewhere else, so that's what I'm going to go do, then yeah, there should be some sort of an action or some sort of an injunction placed on his ability to go sign another contract since he didn't fulfill the terms of the first one. But my understanding is that he hasn't received a single penny from the contract that he signed yet. And to me, it's like, all right, whatever.
Yeah,
fucking,
cut
you
your
don't want to be
losses.
here.
Yeah.
It's too much trouble. It's not worth it. Go on. Go do your own thing, man.
And it also makes you seem like desperate. I know that the Badgers are not a top flight program currently in the Big Ten, but like you don't want to be seeming this needy to where you're like obstructing a player who doesn't want to be there. Like, come on, let this guy go.
Yeah. All right. Lori, anything from you?
No.
Nope. All right. Well, Abe, anything else for us tonight?
Nope.
I guess that's all we've got for you tonight then, and we will talk to you next time.
Later.
We're gonna. Do you need to crunch the whole show?
You click the whole show. What's the difference?
It's too cold for salad.
Those mouth noises you made are going to arouse some small portion of our audience. It's
Not if you don't put them out there.
You never know what's going to get somebody going. Bunch of fucking freaks. All right, let's do sports first.
We got to do it real fast.
Because we can fly through sports. And then...
If you'll recall, last time we tried to do something fun, Bob stayed up too late doing podcast stuff and got sick. So.
Oh.
It is a ridiculous thing to assign me personal blame for how sick I got before.
I did. I
Gillig's
just said
wedding.
what happened.
It was not podcasting that made me sick.
I didn't say it was.
Speaking of which, on the Tuesday before your trip, you're like at 100% health now, Bob. You're no issues. You didn't catch anything at this PTO meeting.
We'll see.
That would fucking suck.
That's right. Of the 6 people who showed up, 3 of them gave me typhus.
He seems okay, but
I had a runny nose for most of the weekend, like not a stuffy nose, just a very runny. To be quite explicit, the snot was very clear, like just a very clear, a watery snot that I had for most of the weekend with no, like it wasn't mucusy, it was just watery, and that's mostly gone away.
Yeah, it's just that, if you don't get enough rest, then you get sick. So that's what I'm just saying. We can't, things have to not happen, and it's not sleep.
The proceeding was created with 100% human content.